Your money is losing flexibility, while your time is becoming more expensive, and the two are connected in a way that is not immediately visible. Income that once expanded your options now quietly narrows them, not because you are earning less, but because the cost of using time has changed beneath you. The hidden cause is not inflation alone, and not your spending, and not your discipline, but something structural that shifts how value moves when time tightens. It is already affecting your savings, your decisions, and the way your future is being shaped right now in subtle, persistent ways. Most people believe that earning more income protects them as time becomes more valuable, and that belief feels responsible because it aligns with effort, discipline, and visible progress. It suggests that increasing income restores control, and that stability comes from staying productive. But the outcome begins to drift. More income starts demanding more structured time, and structured time becomes less flexible the higher its price becomes. The belief assumes time and money scale together, yet the alignment breaks quietly, and the protection people expect starts to weaken in ways that are difficult to notice until constraints appear at the edges. What people notice first is subtle. Decisions take longer. Commitments feel heavier. Small changes in schedule begin to carry disproportionate cost, and the margin for error narrows without announcement. This is the visible effect, and it is often dismissed as pressure or responsibility rather than a shift in structure. Underneath, the mechanism is simple but rarely examined. When time becomes more expensive, anything that requires coordination across time inherits that cost, including work, communication, and the ability to change direction. The system does not announce itself. It adjusts the price of movement, and movement is what most income depends on. People respond in ways that feel rational. They organize their schedules, optimize routines, and protect productive hours more aggressively. This is the behavioral layer, and it seems like control. Yet each adjustment increases dependence on precise timing, and precise timing raises the cost of disruption. Flexibility begins to disappear, replaced by commitments that cannot easily be moved without loss. The more valuable time becomes, the more tightly it must be managed. And the more tightly it is managed, the more fragile it becomes. What appears as efficiency is often a narrowing corridor where deviation becomes expensive and eventually avoided altogether. Over time, this creates a structural lock-in. Choices that once felt reversible begin to carry long tails of consequence because they are embedded in time commitments that cannot be unwound without cost. Income becomes tied to continuity. Continuity requires consistency, and consistency reduces optionality. The system rewards staying aligned with prior decisions, even when conditions change. Leaving becomes harder than staying, not because leaving is wrong, but because time priced at a higher rate penalizes interruption. The structure reinforces itself quietly, and each passing period makes the previous period more binding, until flexibility is no longer assumed but negotiated. At this point, the system begins to intersect with identity. Saving money, working more, avoiding risk, and seeking stability all appear to protect against uncertainty. Yet they also align with the conditions that make time more expensive to use. Saving delays use of money into a future where time may cost more to deploy. Working more increases dependence on scheduled time. Avoiding risk favors paths that require consistency, and consistency compounds commitment. Seeking stability often concentrates activity into predictable structures that resist change. None of these behaviors are incorrect, yet together they synchronize with a system that gradually limits flexibility. The recognition does not arrive all at once. It emerges as small conflicts between what should be easy and what is not. Changing plans requires negotiation. Taking opportunities requires rearranging commitments. Even rest begins to feel scheduled, measured against the cost of time not used productively. The system is not forcing these outcomes directly, but it sets the conditions where they become normal. People adapt, and adaptation looks like maturity, responsibility, and discipline. Yet beneath that adaptation is a quiet trade, where flexibility is exchanged for predictability, and predictability becomes the framework through which income continues to flow over time. As time continues to increase in price, the cost of reversal becomes more visible. Decisions made earlier, under different conditions, now require time to change than they once did to make. This asymmetry is rarely considered, yet it defines how freedom contracts. The past begins to weigh heavily on the present, not emotionally, but structurally. Time links decisions together, and higher time costs tighten those links. What could once be adjusted quickly now demands extended coordination, and extended coordination is expensive. The system accumulates these costs quietly until the idea of changing direction is evaluated against time rather than desire. At the same time, income does not scale in the same way. It can increase, but it remains tied to structures that require time to access. Even when income grows, the cost of using it in flexible ways grows alongside or faster. This creates a quiet inversion, where having more money does not necessarily restore optionality, because optionality depends on the availability of time that is not already committed. People interpret this as pressure to earn even more, reinforcing the cycle. The system does not limit income directly. It limits the conditions under which income can be converted into freedom. This is where the cost becomes irreversible. Time that has been committed cannot be reclaimed at the price it was given. Opportunities that required unstructured time pass, not because they were invisible, but because the cost of engaging them exceeded the available flexibility. The loss is not always dramatic. It appears as paths not taken, adjustments not made, and options that quietly expire. Over long periods, these accumulate into a form of constraint that is difficult to trace back to any single decision. The system does not record these losses explicitly, yet they shape the range of what remains possible. Eventually, the relationship between money and time feels different, even if it is not consciously articulated. Money is no longer a simple extension of choice. It is filtered through time structures that determine how and when it can be used. The sense of control that comes from higher income begins to feel conditional, dependent on maintaining the structures that produce it. Breaking those structures carries a cost that increases with time, and so the inclination is to preserve them. The system stabilizes behavior, not by force, but by aligning incentives with continuity, making deviation feel expensive when it be necessary. Seen together, these patterns form something larger than individual choices. They describe a system where the price of time governs how money can move, and where increasing that price reshapes behavior without requiring explicit direction. People continue to act rationally within the system, yet the outcomes converge toward reduced flexibility. The effect is gradual, distributed across decisions, and difficult to isolate, which is why it often goes unrecognized. But once it is seen, it cannot be unseen, because it explains why effort and outcome begin to diverge, and why control feels present but constrained across time and across unrelated areas. The implication extends beyond any single moment. As time continues to become more expensive, the system continues to tighten, not abruptly, but persistently. What remains flexible becomes more valuable, and what is fixed becomes more binding. The difference between the two defines how much control exists. This is not a conclusion, because the process does not end. It continues to operate beneath decisions, shaping what can change and what cannot. And once that pattern is recognized, the question that follows is no longer about money alone, but about what still has the ability to move when time no longer does. Thanks for watching. If you'd like more calm, long-form thinking about investing and money, subscribe to Finance Simplified.